All right. I will call this meeting to order. Can everybody stand for the Pledge of the Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Take a quick roll call. So Todd?
Finally.
Andre?
Here.
Mark, welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
And David Sells here, and we do have a quorum. So let's see, is there any public comment?
We have received no public comment at the district, and there's no other folks joining us this morning on the Zoom.
Okay, great. So our next item of business is we need to select, as Scott has termed out, we need to select a new chair and vice chair for our committee to move forward. I guess the best way to put it out there, is anybody interested in either of these roles?
We currently have David. You know, you're serving as vice chair, and just informational. Todd, you also joined David. I think you guys joined at the same time, and I believe this is your last year of eligibility to serve on the committee. I believe this is your last consecutive terms. Our members can serve, and time flies. And I think this is your last year. So I just kind of share that information, at least for currently, if the two of you are interested, this is your last chance to be one of these positions.
That sounds good to me, Tim. I think that's a great idea.
Well, if that's the way you guys want it, I would defer to those who, I hate to say, maybe slightly more vested with the kids still going through. And, you know, I'm on the tail end of that now. So anyway, whatever. What do we want to do?
I'm fine in continuing in the role of, well, I guess now would be chair.
So do we just make a nomination that I nominate David Sells to be our chair?
Second.
Third.
I nominate Todd to be our vice chair.
Yeah, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
I'm
opposed?
sorry, who made the nomination for Todd?
I did. David.
David, thank you.
Great. Well, congratulations, David and Todd. As you know, the duties are pretty focused on these meetings, and sometimes we are able to do field trips out to some of our projects. So we appreciate your time, everybody's time, serving here on the committee. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Next order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the August 25th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any changes or updates? There is one that I'd like to call out. The header in the minutes says the meeting is for January 14th.
Whoops. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other updates, changes?
Nope.
Can I get a motion then to approve the minutes as updated?
I have a motion to approve the minutes as updated.
Thank you, Andre.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll have to abstain since I was not there.
Thank you, Mark. Minutes are approved. All right. So in the agenda, some of the items that we're going to review today, we've got the annual audit report, annual Cboc report, then our normal information on current and future bond projects. And then we have the expenditures list that we'll review, and then we'll need to take action to receive those. And then any comments, and then we can adjourn at that point.
So I'm going to let Tim talk about thank you, David, the annual audit report and the review of the annual CBOC report. Tim, they're quite lengthy documents. Do you want me to pull them up and do a screen share so people are seeing them? Or do you just want to give highlights of the overview?
I have the documents up on my screen, and I can go ahead and share my screen, and I can highlight the main sections of the reports. And I believe the first item up is our audit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I will go ahead and share my screen, and I'll just highlight a few things in our annual audit for the Benicia Unified School District bond program. So Roxanne, just so you guys know, when I start to share, this is going to stop your screen sharing with the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And hopefully the Benicia Unified School District audit is up on your screen now. Okay, and this is for our fiscal year ended last year, June 30th. What happens after June 30th is the auditors come after we close our books, and they test and audit all of the expenditures in the bond program. I'm going to scroll down to a couple key sections of the audit. First couple pages is the table of contents. And then that is followed by this independent auditors report. And on page 2 of the independent auditors report is their opinion. This is the important section of their letter, and it gives their opinion, which indicates that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of our school district bond fund as of June 30th. And the results of its operations. And that's in conformity with the accounting principles for here in the United States. So that is referred to as a clean audit. So we're really happy to present that to you today. I'll just scroll down to a couple pages in the audit. It includes the basic financial statements. And the first one is the balance sheet, which shows as of June 30th, our cash balance just at 19 million, which basically means that's what is remaining in our fund balance to spend on bond projects after June 30th. And I'll just scroll down to the very next section, which is the income statement, which shows basically our interest income being earned on funds deposited in the bond fund, as well as during that fiscal year, the bond program spent this $7,226,000 on bond projects. So you'll see that number. What we do here with this group is each quarter we report out the expenditures by quarter. And this is just the annual summation of what was accomplished in the prior 2019-20 school year. So at the end of the day, we're right around a remaining fund balance of about $19 million. And in a future agenda item, you'll kind of get a sense for how we're planning to spend that remaining $19 million.
And just to add to what he's saying, so this balance, the audit goes at the end of the calendar year, but it audits through the end of the fiscal year, which ends June 30th. So this is the balance as of June 30th, 2020. And then in the expenditures report that you have in your packet, those are the expenditures through December 2020. So there's a 6 months difference of things that have been spent between what's reflected here and what's shown on the expenditures report in your packet.
So those are the highlights from the audit. A clean audit. The auditor's opinion is stated there, and a couple of the highlight financial pages from the audit. So there's some other information in there, but this is just for your information. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know now, or if you think of stuff later, we'd be happy to answer that.
All right, thanks, Tim. I think the next one is the annual Cboc report.
Yeah, and what we do here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to share my screen, and I'm going to bring up, this is a single page. It's our annual Oversight Committee report. It is an attempt just to highlight what the committee has done and taken a look at. It really is tied to the audits and the other quarterly reports you see throughout the year. And it's one of the two requirements for this committee is to present the annual report, and then as we'll do in 2 items, also to review and receive the bond expenditures list each quarter. So those are the 2 main actions of this committee. And so here it is. We do it annually at the same time as the audit. So we can include the audited information, and basically it includes the compliance statement in item 1 here, and it basically talks about the Cboc reports for this prior fiscal year, that upon those quarterly reviews that measure as bond proceeds have been spent according to the bond project list contained in the ballot measure, which is the variety of school facilities that the voters passed several years ago. And as I scroll down here, we just have some highlights of our committee's activities during the year. As a committee, we're only required to meet once a year, but we found that quarterly meetings kind of keeps everybody up to speed and a good update on our bond projects each quarter. COVID-19 happened last year, right when we were supposed to have our 3rd quarter meeting, so we did cancel that. That was before Zoom came into our worlds. And but what we did when we met for the 4th quarter is we presented both 3rd quarter and 4th quarter information. And so we did receive those bond project updates each quarter and reviewed those bond expenditures lists like you'll do here in just a couple items for the current reports. Here's that identification of the amount of bond expenditures that we spent in 1920 at $7.2 million. And then we kind of grouped the bond expenditures for that prior fiscal year, identifying the items spent in different categories, including technology at $357,000. I think all of us are here in the community as we drive past our Benicia Middle School. We've seen that campus modernized and spent about $3.6 million. At the same time, we're also working towards a seismic retrofit at Benicia Middle School. Some of us have been around for a while, know that facility was constructed back in the 70s or so, and there's current seismic regulations that if you're going to start to do other types of modernization works, you kind of have to bring it up to code. It's perfectly fine now as long as you don't start doing modernization work, but since there's some seismic work, and this is really kind of planning money with engineers and architects. At the Performing Arts building, we upgraded some of the lighting and electrical and other issues within that facility. Mary Farmer's our next big modernization design, that elementary school, so we're starting work there with $97,000. Fire alarms, we talk a lot about fire alarms. You'll hear in the next item how we're getting close to wrapping all of those up. And so last year was a big year at $1.4 million. Project management through our bond director and a few consultants at $173,000, HVAC work at $365,000. Tennis courts was a big investment this last year, both at Benicia High School and Benicia Middle School at $513,000. There was some significant cracking and wearing and tear going on, and so there was a significant investment to bring those up to current quality standards. Some fencing at $41,000, and some lighting upgrades throughout the district at $55,000. So in summary, as we just saw in the audit, that leaves us about $19 million in these Measure S bond funds on June 30th. And we're going to continue to spend those on the bond projects and continue to review those with this committee here at our quarterly meetings. This is a draft. You guys are welcome to add to it as much as you would like. What we do, if this is acceptable, or if we want to add a few things, or if it's fine as is, then what we would do is ask David, you as chair, to present this at one of the February. We have 2 February board meetings. If that works for you, we'd ask if you would share this information with the school board, and everyone's welcome to attend that Zoom meeting if you would like.
Sounds good. I don't know what I would add.
Scott added. Scott liked to add his own personal touches in the past, but you're welcome to present this as is.
Okay.
So we'll follow up with an email for which board meeting. We usually, after every Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting, we take this same information to the board and share with them, what we found with this committee. But I know there's a board meeting next Thursday. We probably won't make that one, but maybe the second one. Yeah, so I'll follow up with an email to you, David, and
okay.
We'll target which board meeting will work for everybody.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, and this one's just for information. And if there's no revisions or we will David will work with you to present this at one of the next school board members, and we'll let all you guys know in case you would like to join us. No obligation, just an invitation.
And those are also by Zoom right now.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So, David, you can take us to the next one, and I think Roxanne's going to present that.
Information on current and future bond projects.
Great. I'm going to pull up our list. Are you guys seeing the agenda on the screen again?
No.
No.
Okay. Great. Better?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to introduce this format since we have some new members who might not be familiar with it. Over here on our left, we have the completed bond projects to date. And so these are all projects that have been completed, and as projects get done. So right down here is the bond projects currently in construction. So as these are completed, they get moved up to our completed list. And then over here on the right, from our master plan, we have a tier of all of the projects that are budgeted to be built of our need. So these are all of the ones that have funding allocated to them. And as we're able, we will start the planning and construction of those items. So it kind of gives us completed, in progress, and slated to be done in the future as soon as we can get to it. I'll run through these real quick. I usually try to be not too burdensome with them, so in the essence of time for people. But we have completed technology infrastructure upgrades at all of our schools, phone and PA systems at all of the schools, playground upgrades at all of the elementary schools. Mary Farmer and Benicia Middle School got new roofing. We did some softball field bleachers at the high school. exterior painting at the high school, security surveillance at all the schools, and then fire alarms. We did new fire alarm systems at all of the schools, and most recently we finished Liberty High School in the DO. And so we're really happy because that's important for the safety and security, but it's one of those projects that you don't get a lot of visual, appeal that you get to share with people that it's something completed, but just really a necessity. So happy to have that work done. The high school stadium we completed, and then we've got locker room HVAC upgrades at the high school. We also had Prop 39 money that we had received $1 million grant for that helped us pay for that. So it was jointly funded. The high school PAB lighting and electrical upgrades, high school and middle school tennis courts, middle school modernization, and then there's the Liberty and DO fire alarm. Projects that we currently have in construction, we're installing a new high school at the Marquee. We just finished pouring the foundation and just got our concrete break to meet our structural requirements. Within the next week or so, they'll probably start erecting the actual Marquee sign, and probably within a month, we'll see that functional. So the old one actually just stopped working not that long ago. So they were completely without anyway. I mean, they do a lot online and stuff to share out with their community, but it'll be nice for them to have that. We're also going to do some plantings around that corner to visually and aesthetically give it some nice, here's our entrance to the high school, and a nice welcome. We have a contract in place for window replacements at Liberty High School. It will allow them to have operable windows and just a better overall space inside. Those are, with COVID and construction, we are running into situations where the contractors can't get equipment as readily as normally you would be able to. So we're targeted for a materials receipt date in early March, and then they'll install those. A big thing that we've got planning is the Mary Farmer modernization. And at our last meeting, I shared out some of what those master plans look like. We've been continuing to have meetings with the site users, and one of our next steps is to meet with the community group, because we're looking at one-way traffic through to ease traffic congestion at pickup and drop-off times. So it'll be during school pickup and drop-off, you enter only off Military and you exit on Drolette. So we'll be reaching out and having a community meeting, inviting the neighbors of Drolette. That really, so far, everyone we've talked to, it has been really well received. It's going to alleviate and improve an existing problem. So we are excited for that. At the middle school, we are working on seismic upgrades. The plans are at DSA right now. So as soon as we get that approval, we'll be both, really the Mary Farmer and the middle school, will be moving down into the bond projects and construction fairly quickly. We'll be taking both of those to bid. The other things that we have cited are infrastructure and safety upgrades at all schools. So things that were specifically targeted for with that scope, they are single point of entry at campuses. Before COVID, it was a big thing with people on campus or safety threats and stuff like that across our schools. The other thing that we have targeted with this is lighting upgrades, and specifically exterior lighting upgrades across some of our campuses. And right now we have some quotes to start some work at the high school to improve their exterior lighting on their buildings and across campus. So part of that we're going to start right away as well. The high school gym floor, we'll be changing out the flooring eventually there. And then we have some alternative education improvements and bathroom replacements at Joe Henderson, daycare modular buildings at Joe Henderson, and then performing arts building. The order in which these are listed on this side is the order of priority of need that they were identified in our master's plan. So generally, you'll see these move into construction in the order in which they're listed. One thing, actually, before we flip into the next screen, that I want to share out, as we do this work, we work on getting grants and other ways to make our bond money go farther. And we have been working, so we did get our Prop 39 grant money that we spent a year and a half ago. We got $1 million there, and we've been working for Prop 51 money, which is state monies that is funded through state bonds, not local property bonds. But we probably have 8 to 10, if not more, of those applications in. And recently there's different steps. We were approved prior, but we got moved from the approved to the approved and funded list, which means we'll actually get some money, not just that you're in the approved bucket over there. But so recently we have about $10 million more that we are in line to receive from Proposition 51 monies that will help us to fund projects, because we have much more need at our schools than money. So that was really exciting. We met with our steering committee. We have a local committee comprised of representatives from different persons across all the schools. And we talk about which projects in line next we're going to fund with those. And so we met with them and also with the board. And the result of that was that Mary Farmer Modernization, initially, we had money for really only about half, a little less than half of the scope needed. And we are almost fully funded, not all the way. They're not going to get 100%, but it's going to be really close. And so we're super excited about that. And then we also got some additional monies for Joe Henderson, got some monies for Robert Semple. They're smaller amounts, but at least it will start some work at both of those. And then to help fund the seismic. So that was really super exciting. We're pleased with it.
Yeah, that's a big deal, Roxanne. And Roxanne has done a wonderful job working with our state facility funding consultant to get us in line for as much state money as possible. So to get those state facility funds, they require districts like Benicia to do a match in funding. And our local community, when they passed the local Measure S bond fund, that set us up to go and get as much state funds as possible. And so Roxanne is doing a wonderful job. And if you add up all those numbers, Roxanne, I think it's close to an additional $10 million or so.
Yep.
So on top of the $50 million local bond that our local community passed, the district through Roxanne has gone after the state and added $10 million to that. So we're really happy with that. And I think the community will have to get the word out once those dollars actually hit our bank account that we've been able to take this to another level with additional projects.
That's great news. Thank you, Roxanne.
You're welcome. If there aren't any questions on the projects, I'll scroll down and let Tim talk about the fiscal expenditures. Do you want to go on to that?
You bet. Yep, that's the next agenda item. And Roxanne, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have it. I think I've made it a little bit larger in font. So again, it's going to turn off your share screen. So I'm going to do that now. And so this next agenda item for the committee, it is your action item, basically to just review and receive the expenditure list. And what we do on this first page is we kind of show you the revenues over the prior years. And then we also report out the expenditures, which is what you're taking action on. So you can see up here at the top in the prior fiscal years, this first column shows that $49.6 million that our local Benicia community approved in school bonds. We've earned about $1.8 million in interest over the years that we get to spend on additional bond projects. Some additional funding has come in. So we're actually at about $51.4 million in available funds at this point in time. And up through June 30th of 2020, our district has spent more than half of that, about $32.9 million which leaves the remaining balance for us to take a look at over the next few years. So just to point out, you can see, I don't know if you remember this $7,226,000 number from the audit a couple items ago. So we just want to point out that, the numbers that we report in these reports actually, tie back to the audited numbers as well. So today, what we have is we have these 2 quarters of items for us from July 1st, September 30th, and then October 1st through December 31st. So we have some interest income that has come in this year. And then over here in the far right column, you can see first quarter of this year, we spent $293,000 plus an additional $625,000 in quarter 2 on bond projects. So after all is said and done, that gets us to almost $34 million in expenditures. We'll go through this detail in just a second. So I scroll down, basically the difference between what we've spent and what we have available is that at this point in time, the commitments that are remaining at $17.7 million. So let's go ahead and I'll click on the next sheet and we'll go through the detail list for this $918,000 of bond expenditures. And hopefully this isn't too small on your screen. I increased the font size as much as I could. I can increase it more, but you'll lose some of the data on the right. So we'll try this. Some of the project listed here, they won't have any expenditures for these 2 quarters. It's either future project or projects that have been completed in the past years, but we wanted to keep one document that is cumulative from the start of the bond all the way in to the final bond project. So basically, I'll just kind of go through them quickly. If you have any questions, you can stop me or save them till the end. This first group is safety projects. We have about $1.1 million that we're going to be working on in this year, later this year, and in the future. Basically, what we're looking at for your action is these first 2 columns in this yellow shade is the first 2 quarters of expenditures. So for this one, we didn't have any, but we just wanted to point out that in the future, we'll be identifying some safety projects throughout our district. In this next one, we have done some district-wide HVAC projects. So over the 2 quarters, we've spent $4,851 to these 2 vendors, Matrix and Kilowatt Engineers, upgrading our HVAC units throughout the district. Our clocks, bells, and PA system was a project that we completed in prior fiscal years. Again, no expenditures here. In reference, if you look over to the far right, you can see what that project came in at upon completion. So I'm going to just focus on these 2 yellow columns, which is the expenditure list. So this next one was technology surveillance that has been completed in the past. We've had huge technology infrastructure in the past, some disaster preparedness phone systems. That brings us to this section, which is the Mary Farmer campus modernization. So over the first 2 quarters, we've spent $61,970. A lot of that is planning with our architects, some project management, soil engineering, doing a traffic study, as Roxanne indicated. There is space on the back end of Mary Farmer to create a one-way flow of traffic that could come in through Military, up the hill, around the back, and out one way through Drolet, which is being studied right now and should alleviate a lot of the problems. On Drolet right now, you got traffic coming from both ways and walkers and things. So we're excited about that. And as Roxanne said, there's a lot of positive reaction to that, and we'll be continuing that process. Plus some geological topography reports as well with the soils. You go ahead and scroll down to the next section. Fire alarms at Farmer have been completed, playground, some roofing, tech rooms, some HVAC. Now we're into Robert Simple School. Again, all these projects have been completed or in the past. Some playground work, some multi-purpose room work. Down here, we have wrapped up the fire alarm work at Joe Henderson, just a wrap up of about $380 there. If I scroll down to the next section at Matthew Turner Elementary School, the fire alarm work there, again, wrapping that up with $29,441. When you do fire alarm upgrades, we also have to do a bunch of signage in coordination with the fire department and other agencies to make sure the new fire alarms are marked with signage. So in case there are incidents, the alarms are in agreement with to how the buildings are marked. So about $24,618 there. In addition to some other fees and electrical work. This next section is a long list of all of the different work we're doing at Benicia Middle School as we're wrapping up that, what we're calling phase 1 of campus modernization that you see from the front of the school. And, if you're looking at the building and off to the right, we were able to add 3 new classrooms. And this large dollar amount, we paid $235,000 to AMS Modular. That goes towards the 3 new classrooms that were built on the, if you're looking at the front, on the far right of the campus, if you're standing in front of the school looking at it. So we have Department of State architecture fees. School districts in California go to the state to get their plans approved. So their fees are a set. It's required by law, about $24,000. I won't go through everyone here. You can kind of see some fencing. We're also required to have an inspector of record to come out and inspect and approve the work that's being done according to code. It's about $3,420 for that. Again, architect work along the way, $13,107. Along the way, so we have a very talented district maintenance staff, and we have some very talented painters. And so we are tapping into our own crews to do some of the bond work and save a lot of money. So we've been able to tap into our own crew by the painting supplies and really upgrade the campus with that project. So about $18,449 for paint supplies. We have a bunch of concrete work, $30,774 through Murphy Industrial, and additional electrical work with Tarp and Vanden Brothers. Vanden Boss, excuse me. So, and in total for these first 2 quarters for this phase 1 work at Benicia Middle School, it's $362,854. Scroll down to this next Benicia Middle School project for seismic. Again, a lot of this is still in the planning stage to figure out what we have to do to reinforce some of those buildings to get them up to current code as we consider modifications to them. So with our architect and electrical work, about $61,309. Our next project in these first 2 quarters, kind of wrapping up tennis court follow-up work at Benicia Middle School, $1,325. Scroll down here to our next project is at Benicia High School, working on a new marquee at the main entrance to the school, which had stopped working. We're gonna place it so it's more visible to the cars and actually to the walkers. So we're pretty excited about that. There's a lot of behind the scenes work with marquees. a lot of trenching, a lot of making sure electrical's all right, and it's more than just buying the marquee itself. These we're currently underway with that marquee at $66,546. We'll scroll down to this next one also at Benicia High School, kind of wrap up work to finish up the tennis courts there at Benicia High School, $4,208. And this next group is at the Liberty High School and district office. They share the same building. You might know Liberty's on one half of the side of the building and the district office is on the other side. And this is the fire alarm work. And this is the last site to get upgraded to current fire alarm. And pretty excited about that. Like Roxanne said earlier, it's behind the scenes. Nobody really sees it. But it's really important for us to make sure we're up to current code with fire alarms, that they're working properly. And so with that, the main contractor there is Vanden Boss Electric. So that payment of $180,585 went out to them, in addition to, again, some of our, we used ACEE Electrical on that fire alarm design, as well as our inspector of record to make sure everything was done according to code, and some electrical services card, $6,750. So we're close to wrapping up the Liberty High School DO fire alarm projects, and we will have all up-to-date fire alarms after that. These next ones are just kind of general supplies and services. Roxanne is reimbursed for supplies, office supplies and whatnot related to the bond projects at $470. We are enrolled in the American Institute of Architects to keep on top of current rules and regulations. We're through that membership. We use Blueprint Express out in the industrial park for all of our copy and bid needs, which is a big time saver, and they're doing a great job for us. $2,783. We have contracts and other legal documents reviewed by our legal counsel out of the Sonoma County Office of Ed. And so that's at $11,700. A little bit for postage, reimbursing Roxanne for mailings, $167. We have a cell phone for our bond director at $331. Payment for our bond audit at $2,000. And our BUS payroll for salary and benefit costs, which the only payroll we have for the bond is the bond director herself. So that was $90,069. So thank you for bearing with me as I went through that detailed list of expenditures. So between Q1 and Q2, our bond expenditures for our school district is the $918,460.
All right. Any questions for Kim?
Tim, can I just ask a fundamental question, maybe to help me get grounded with this report? The when I look, and I'm just as an example, the stadium project. So I think when I'm looking at budgets, I usually see a budget and actuals, and they don't typically line up. They're close somewhere along the line. And when I look at the, are you getting feedback from me?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Oh, okay. When I look at the budget through it from inception and the expenses, like for the stadium project, they're the exact same number. So I would have expected to see, you know, an underrun or overrun slightly, but I don't know. Maybe the way that this is, the budget process is different, or the estimating project is different. And we can, I know we're running out of time. We can talk offline if everybody else understands it, but that's just a question I have on the report.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely can provide more information on that cumulative budget. On the way that this is set up is each year if you were to go back to some of these prior year reports, you would see kind of what the starting budget is, and then as it got revised for changes, you would see the current year budget on a year by year basis. But when we go to cumulative, we don't we're not reporting that original starting budget in this column. It basically each year we update it as it gets closer to project completion. So you're right, you won't see that on this particular report. But maybe there's another way we can get you that information.
Okay, I'm looking at it, just my question was going to be, has there been any surprises? Was there any project that started, our budget was X and it ended up being 3X, or and the same with the schedule? Did we expect it to go 6 months and it went a year and a half? But again, we don't need to discuss now. We can talk offline.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
And Tim, I have a quick question on the safety projects at the top. Are any of those associated with the COVID-19 return to school?
Yeah, great question. And so, it's really interesting when you have these categories. And, I think there's definitely some flexibility as you, obviously you're guided by the ballot language, and the ballot language includes safety projects for facilities. And, this really got its start based before COVID, when there were unsafe incidents and on campuses. And so what can we do in regards to single point of entry and lighting and other measures to help kind of do pedestrian control or people on campus control, which kind of, as time goes on, it does new things come up, including COVID. And what kind of impacts, Roxanne and I have just started talking about this, what kind of impacts will COVID have that are long lasting and will continue beyond COVID? And so as we look at those projects, David, yes, we'll be incorporating any new type of guidelines that COVID has brought up into the original goal was more along those other lines I mentioned.
To supplement what he's saying there too. So the district did receive some state monies from, it's called CARES, is a fund source through the federal government because of COVID. And you can apply those to facilities, but mostly they're going towards things like PPE and additional cleaning and all of the added costs that the district is incurring because of COVID. Really, it's taken all of that money to cover those things. So we're not seeing any extra budget for actual facilities. But I think that the pieces, if you talk about COVID and how does that affect design or what we are doing, things that we think about are HVAC, which we're really pleased that we had our Prop 39 monies and just finished a big HVAC project. So while we still have a lot of work that could be done, we're in much better shape than we were, say, 4 years ago. Other things that you think about are just having operable windows in your designs, and then touchless sinks and stuff like that, door openers so that you're not touching door handles. So is really thinking about bond monies are focused on the physical facility versus the other piece of COVID is kind of a maintenance and upkeep with the cleaning and PPE pieces of it.
Okay, thank you.
And so, yeah, if you guys have any other additional comments or if you think of stuff later, please let us know. So, yeah, this is your one action item to review and receive the bond expenditure list.
If I could get a motion to approve and receive the expenditures list.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Thanks, Mark.
I second it.
Thanks, Andre. All in favor to accept the expenditures list?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So next item is any comments from the committee? Comments or questions? All right.
David, if I can share out, I'm not a committee member, but just under this section, we We are setting up district email accounts for each of you if you would like to use them. So I'll send you a separate communication with your district email account. And then the second thing is I was contacted by, there's an agency, I believe it's in California. They are an association for all oversight committees in the state of California for schools. And so it's an association. They exist to, provide any assistance or resources to any Cboc committee in the state. And so they asked us for some information, including your email addresses. And so what I will do is I'll respond back to them. I've already provided them the other information, and then I will provide them your district email. They specifically requested that. So you might get some information directly from this California Association of Oversight Committees. And so just wanted to let you guys know that in the email I send you with your district email account, there'll be a temporary password. And if you want to change that, you can click on the link to our Director of Technology, and he can help you change your password.
Great. Thank you, Tim. All right. So I think we need to set up our next meeting date.
So we'll meet usually after this next quarter, which ends March 30th, 31st. And so towards the later part of April, we can do the week of April 19th or the week of April 26th. And I think generally the 9 o'clock time works for everyone, but and today is a Thursday, so if we want to keep it on a Thursday, it would be either April 22nd or April 29th.
I'm good with either of those times. Either of those days at 9 o'clock is fine.
I'm good with both as well.
22?
22.
Okay.
Perfect.
April 22nd at 9 o'clock. And most likely will be a Zoom meeting as well.
All right. I'll set up invites and send them to everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Have a great day, everyone.